Hello and welcome everyone. On behalf of Dimensions in Travel, we are just letting people into, we're checking all the boarding passes of everyone to allow you to join our trip today. We are delighted to have you joining us for our journey to Alaska with Uncruise, the small ship adventure company. My name is Diana St. James, and I'm one of the owners of Dimensions in Travel along with Jill Romano. We have a number of travel advisors at Dimensions in Travel, and we all miss travel very much. These virtual events have kept the spirit of travel alive in all of us, and we love sharing them with you. I realize now we have been doing them for over 6 months. But, you know, we're willing to do whatever it takes to keep the spirit of travel alive. Before we get started, here are some reminders. We are recording this event. We record all of our events, and we will be sending the link out afterwards and posting it on our website so that you can go back and catch one of our older presentations at any time. Everyone's in listen only mode, so your microphones and your video cameras are off to minimize distractions, and we would appreciate it if you would keep them that way. You can post questions in the chat button at the bottom of the screen, and we'll be doing a Q&A at the end, but you can post your questions at any time. During today's journey, we will be traveling to Alaska on small boats with Uncruise Adventures. You are going to get a chance to experience the intimacy and destination immersion that you do not find on bigger ships. Hike in a rainforest with your naturalist guide, kayak across a quiet bay, and witness fantastic wildlife from your Zodiac. I have sailed on an Uncruise ship, and it is a very different experience. One of my best memories is recalling when there was a bear that was sighted. The captain alerted us very quietly over the sound system, cut off the engine. He allowed the boat to drift closer and closer till we were within, I don't know, 200 feet of the bear, and the bear was just kind of staring at us, and we were kind of staring at the bear. We never got too close to be invasive, but it was just this incredible moment of connection that you would never have on one of the larger ships. So Uncruise is setting sail in Alaska starting in May, just in 2 months, on smaller US flagged expedition boats, 22 to 86 passengers, with strong health protocols in place, which our guest is going to be going over with all of us today. These ships are not affected by any of the cruise ship bans that are out there right now because they are US flagged and because of their size. And Uncruise this year is going to be visiting Alaska, Hawaii, Columbia and Snake Rivers in Oregon, and the Pacific Northwest in Washington State. And we're very excited to have you see this sort of casual, in-depth style of traveling that is so attractive for people. So I hope you enjoy it. But first of all, I want to introduce Jill Romano, my business partner, and she will be introducing our guest. Hi, Jill.
Hi, Diana. Welcome, everyone. So happy to have you here today. First of all, Julie, a big congratulations on the 25th anniversary. That's fantastic. I'm delighted today to introduce you all to Julie Quarry, our Business Development Director with Strategic Accounts at Uncruise Adventures. Since about 2013, Uncruise has been a preferred partner of Dimensions in Travel, and we love selling these unique small boat adventures that focus on the destination in a more in-depth and unique, as Diana said, intimate way, especially to Alaska and Hawaii. Julie has worked in the small ship industry her entire career, and the past 6 has been with Uncruise Adventures. She has a great passion for the niche tourism and small boat cruising market. And for the past 35 years in the industry, her greatest achievement comes from combining her 2 loves, travel and photography. Welcome, Julie, and take us away with Uncruise.
Oh, what a beautiful introduction by both of you. Thank you so much. And thank you for delivering such unique offerings out to your audience, and we're so pleased to be a part of it. Hello, everyone. I'm Julie with Uncruise Adventures, and just to ensure that we have some really good bandwidth, I'm going to pop off my visual. You can see here I'm on the bow of one of our vessels, but I'm going to pop off my video so you can see the presentation, and then I'll come back after the Q&A. But thank you so much for joining us and for congratulating us on our 25th anniversary, which we are super excited about. In today's presentation, or in the short time that we'll be together, we're going to talk about uncruised adventure, especially for those who are slightly intrigued with that unique name. We're going to take you to Alaska, and then we're going to view some of our small boats so you get a good visual of what this all means. And then, as both Jill and Diana had mentioned, we'll have Q&A at the end. So look at this photo. That is not photoshopped, gang. That is the real McCoy. Uncruise has been delivering small boat exploration, as Diana said, for the past 25 years. We have a total of 9 vessels, and by design, all under 90 guests, so that you are ensured an unmatched hands-on small group exploration. And our mission at Uncruise is to provide the guests with an enriching adventure travel experience that inspires appreciation for the local culture and natural world. And we're soft adventure. We love to throw around that word adventure, but I'm telling you, so Uncruise Adventures, it is everybody can as much or as little. And if you've never done any of the unique things that we do on board, we will teach you that as well. All of our itineraries, no matter where we go, are all designed under these 3 pillars. That first one, again, adventure. I'm not just talking about getting out there and hitting it hard. This is really a mindset. This is really to get out and explore, finding unique areas that maybe you wouldn't know on your own. Traveling to beautiful places that you may not have access if you weren't on a small vessel, or perhaps if you didn't know Diana and Jill and at Dimensions. So it is really finding those great places to explore. And then lastly, the third pillar is connection. And not only connecting with maybe your family and friends that are on board the vessel, or the crew members that are on board, but connecting with the locals, connecting with the wildlife, connecting with fresh mountain air that you would receive in Alaska. And that's all these 3 things are component in how we structure every itinerary with Uncruise Adventures. So Diana touched a little bit on where we go, and this is our map. This is our breadth of products. And in 2021, we're going to stick with domestic products and introduce our international products as we move into the 2022 season. So we're going to Alaska this evening, but as Diana mentioned, we'll be leaving. We have a 7-night, 8-day cruise out of the Pacific Northwest. It's right out of Seattle, Washington. We also, out of Portland, Oregon, have a 7-night, 8-day out of Columbia and Snake River. And then in the winter, we're going to sail our 36-passenger vessel to Hawaii, visiting 4 islands in 7 days. Now, I lied just a little bit. We do have one international product that is going in 2021, and it's a 36-passenger vessel that we charter down in the beautiful archipelago of the Galapagos Islands, and they leave as soon as April 30th. We are here to talk about the star of the show, 2021 Alaska. Massive glaciers, temperate rainforests, wildlife rich fjords, and spectacular view. And this image that I selected, I thought it was such a quintessential shot of things that we do in Alaska. Now, for those of you who have maybe cruised before on a big ship, or for those of you who have never cruised before, this is going to be really unique product for you, in that it is far different from the big ships, meaning we're not port centric. We certainly embark at a port, and we also disembark at a port. But other than that, we take all of our toys with us, our kayaks, and all the great things we're going to learn about in a few minutes, and we go out into the wild and explore the backcountry. This is one of our vessels, our wilderness adventure, sitting right in front of Lampoon Glacier. You see our kayaks out there, you see our Zodiacs out there. It's just a terrific day up in Glacier Bay. Now let's look at the overarching product. Now we have 6 itineraries going into Alaska. We have a 7, 12, 14 night cruises exploring Alaska's Inside Passage. So if you want to see Alaska, not just visit Alaska, Uncruise Adventures offers more Alaska than any company. We have 6 out of the 9 of our vessels that sail in these beautiful Alaskan waters. In 2021, we'll start that first sailing in less than 60 days on May 10th, and we'll go all the way to the end of the season of until the end of September. So how can we do this? There are a lot of the big ships that are banned from cruising, not banned from cruising in Alaskan waters, certainly banned because our Canadian neighbors had closed off the ports for them to come into because they are foreign flag. Now, if you sail with a U.S. flag, like on Cruise Adventures, you can leave right from a domestic port and sail right back into a domestic port, which is exactly what we can do. All of our vessels, all 6 of them, are getting ready down in Seattle right now. They're getting all crewed up. The captains are checking out the vessels. We're bringing on stores, bringing in all the great stuff to get all 6 of our vessels ready, and they're going to make their way in May up through the Inside Passage, all the way up to Alaska. So if you were to sail with us this year, you would fly to either Juneau, Sitka, or Ketchikan. Now, we do sell those positioning cruises. The ones go from Seattle up to the Inside Passage at the beginning there, as well as at the end of the season, they'll sail from the Inside Passage back to Seattle. But during the core season of Uncruise Adventures, we stay in Alaskan waters. So for those of you who may go, ooh, do you get seasick on a small vessel? Well, the cool part is we sail inside in very protected waters, and we'll see some pretty cool photos coming up here shortly. But the other awesome thing about that, if you want to see Alaska, we're going to show you 7-night, 8-day of Alaska, cruising entirely in the Inside Passage. So let's just take a look at some of our 7-night, 8 days. Now, I don't expect in our short time tonight for you to go to memorize all of these. But the one thing that I really love about this slide is when you see all 4 of these programs, when I talk about sailing in the Inside Passage, if you can see my pointer here in the upper left, and now I'm moved to the upper right, look at how close in these waters that we sail. Our Alaska's glacier country makes a complete circumference around Admiralty Island, which has the highest concentration of brown bear in the world. Our Glacier Bay National Park Adventure Cruise, again, a terrific 7-night, not only goes around Admiralty Island to icy streets up into Glacier Bay, and we spend so much time in Glacier Bay exploring. And then we have our Northern Passage of Glacier Bay that really explores the northern passage of the Inside Passage and getting into some amazing areas that focuses on the glaciers, of course, the great marine life that area has to offer. So much to do up there. That's why you work with great experts at Dimensions in Travel to really focus in on the perfect itinerary and the perfect vessel that would fit your needs. Now, I did talk about, we also have a 12 and 14 night cruise, and that's what these 2 are right here. The one over to the left, our Inside Passage and Glacier Bay cruise, these are those positioning cruises I'm talking about, leaving from Seattle and going up to the Inside Passage, or leaving at the end of the season Inside Passage and coming back down to Seattle. A 12-night, 13-day in a really good price point. And then if you want the ultimate expedition, then we have a 2-week, 4-night, 15-day cruise that'll leave Ketchikan and go all the way up to the northern part of Glacier Bay, and all the great itineraries. We're combining 2 itineraries on this adventure. And one is just one of my favorites because it just highlights everything. So if you're ready to get out and explore, that one would be absolutely fantastic for you. So let's talk about how Uncruise Adventures actually sees all the great areas that we go to. Mention we're port centric. And once we leave a port, we get out and explore all the great wildlife. And we have included activities, meaning you can do as many or as little as you would like. So we take our fleet of kayaks with us, our paddleboards, our nature walks. We have snorkel gear and have our skiffs, which is this middle upper image there, and it's a small inflatable boat. We have just exploring. So our expedition teams not only plan and manage all those daily activities, but they'll teach you. It's been a while since you've been in a kayak, or perhaps you've never been in a kayak at all. They will handhold you through that process. We typically have 3 adventures in the morning and activities in the afternoon. And once we deliver those activities, and our expedition team will come to each one of you and take your adventure order. And that's the cool part about Uncruise Adventures, is that you get to customize your day however you like. So we absolutely know that everybody has individual activity level, and our expedition team will make sure you're on the right one. You don't even need to guide before you go. We handle that all on board. Now, I talked about kayaking, and I talked about kayaking in Alaska. So let's take a glimpse at what our exclusive kayak launch pad is. 4 out of the 6 vessels in Alaska are outfitted with our exclusive kayak launch pad. So if it's been, again, a long time since you kayaked, or if you've never done it, this is the place to learn. Our expedition leaders hold a kayaking 101 course, and this kayak launch pad takes all the hard part out of kayaking, right? Getting in and out of kayak. So we get to sit in the kayak, we'll adjust your seat for you, we adjust your foot pedals because we have a little rudder off the back that makes it nice and easy to steer. We'll hand you those pads and gently push you out into the beautiful waters of Alaska. Now, fear, because you will already be taught how to kayak if you haven't before, or for those who really seek out vacations that have kayaking, you will not be disappointed. Our expedition leaders will also narrate and lead us in of our kayak. So it's a pretty awesome way to get out there and check out everything. The other cool part about our kayak launch pad is there's no time wasted. It is operationally, we can launch kayaks if our captain and crew find some full pristine harbor or some great places to kayak. We can lower the kayak launch pad after we anchor and get set, ready and set to kayak. So it's pretty fantastic. And we're just so pleased to have this because this separates us. I'm just going to add a short story, but it might give you a great visual. When we first started this company, we've considered the name Sea Lodge. And if you can imagine being in your favorite lodge in the backcountry and you want to get out and maybe hike in a cool remote area and get out in a water, or even go, you know, if it's a lodge, it's a ski lodge, get out and do some of your favorite things. And then you go to sleep, and that sea lodge moves to another place, and you wake up amongst a gorgeous area. Is exactly why we thought of that name. And we came up with that cruise because one of our guests on board said, "You are the antithesis of a big ship. Look at what you do." So I say that every time I see these photos, it reminds me of that name, Sea Lodge, because we are completely reliant on this vessel, like a hub and spoke. It's our main hub, and then we get to do all these great places as our captain and crew take us to their favorite places. And if wildlife is why you might want to go to Alaska, well, wildlife dictates our schedule. We are reliant on Mother Nature in so many ways, but truly to bring us to some of these great places. I was Jill, I believe, in the very beginning, who introduced that I love photography. And I have taken most of the images throughout the presentation. And I share that with you because I only get up to Alaska maybe once a year. But this is the access that I have from the vessel, from kayak, from one of our Zodiacs. And again, up to Alaska and seeing it in its wild natural state is absolutely priceless. And while are designed at all fitness levels and lifestyles. We understand that not all guests desire to have the same level of physical activity. So we offer a variety of activities at different levels. So we talk about doing a nature walk. We usually have 3 different levels of nature walks that day or that morning. So you can again decide after our expedition leaders talk about nature walks, then when they come to you to take your adventure order, you could really get in and ask those great questions. Maybe it's the meandering through the old growth forest, like the image on the left, or maybe it's on the lower right. That is Baird Glacier that we had a beautiful walk on, and we were actually walking on the glacier. How cool is that? Or maybe it's bushwhacking, getting off the trail, trying to find really unique places that nobody has stepped foot before. So really fantastic nature walks throughout the entire voyage. And what about floating activities? Those the kayaks that I talked about, or that small inflatable boat. Our big vessel, our hub, is designed to get into really remote areas, but having these zodiacs or these skiffs and the kayaks really get us into tiny remote areas. So the upper left image there is, I'll never forget. Now you just see some folks sitting amongst the bergy bits checking out that Tidewater Glacier, which in itself a very cool image. But what I remember is the crackling of those bergy bits in that salt water, the quiet solitude as we sat there and just begged for a piece of that ice off that Tidewater Glacier to fall in the water. And believe it or not, about 2 miles from that glacier that is. So, but all of these images, there's a story behind each and every one of them. And again, all these activities, we have 3 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon. And let's check out. I mentioned we have more Glacier Bay than any other cruise line. And why is this area so popular? Everyone you want to go up to Glacier Bay. Well, it's been recorded in national park. It's of course a national park, but they've had some great records of the succession of the ice melting from the opening or the face of where Glacier Bay starts, all the way back to Marjorie Glacier, which is in that lower left-hand corner. So there's so much to not only see, but to learn about and to experience. And we are so proud that we get to spend so much time in this area. Our owner and CEO, Dan Blanchard, he is a Juneau resident. So he has a lot of amazing connections and a great love for this area. Before he even started on Cruise Adventures, way in the back of his early employment, he actually was a captain on a small boat up here in Glacier and absolutely fell in love with it. So when Dan started to design this company 25 years ago, one of his prerequisites is to make sure that we had the perfect adventure vessels to take us into places. And these 6 images are ones that I have taken right again from the deck of the vessel. It's so important to have beautiful bows that you can really just look over one deck from the waterline, checking glaciers, checking out marine life, having ample space wrap around decks that you'll be able to get around. If we're not doing activity, calls, we hear there's a pot of whale, let's say, our captain and crew can switch up our itinerary to make sure that what we go see, and we get to see it right from the decks of the vessel. Pretty awesome. So that is a glimpse into some of the beautiful imagery that that nature gives us, that we get to explore this beautiful area. And let's take a peek into our vessels. What do I keep talking about when I talk about small vessels? All of our vessels are designed for the action from the action from the outside, and we bring it inside. So it's got that really casual vibe to it. They have shoal drafts, meaning the exploration and access to remote areas and inlets and harbors, and that great easy that kayak launch pad that we talked about. We've got some great bow underwater cameras on our vessel, and all again come very equipped with all the great activities that we have on board. And I'm just sharing 3 of our vessels, and I took these 3 mainly because they're different in size, and I thought you could get an idea of what we mean when we talk about our expedition vessel. This is our 36 passenger guest vessel, our Safari Explorer. Not only does she sail in Alaska, but she also is our vessel that sails in the Hawaiian Islands, that one that does the 7 islands in 7 days. So she has everything, all outside cabins. All of our vessels have outside cabins. Because of our size, there are no inside cabins for you cruisers out there. Set up beautifully for expedition type sailing. Our midsize, or one of our larger vessels, is our 76 passenger Wilderness Discoverer. Now, this one is a good example of out cabins, and I have my pointer in the lower middle image here. In the green hull area are cabins, and you enter from the inside of the vessel, but beautiful big windows like you see off to the right here. Now, if you go one deck higher, this is what I'm talking about, having all these great wraparound decks, not only on this level, but also the upper level. And that's why it's so important not to have maybe large suites that consume deck space. It's important, these are all cabins here. So if nature calls, you are one step, open a door, and out on those wraparound decks to view the wildlife. But again, the cabins are everything you need, nothing you don't. They're extremely comfortable. But where the luxury comes in on cruise adventures is outside of the vessel. Let's take a look at our largest vessel. This is the biggest it gets, is 84 guests, 42 cabins, and this is our Wilderness Legacy. And again, she not only sails in Alaska, but she'll be the one sailing on the Columbia and Snake River. She kind of has a cool vibe to her, an old world vibe to her, but really a fantastic vessel to get into the remote areas. Life on board our vessel mentioned is casual. What you wear for breakfast, you wear to dinner. Every one of these images are filled with examples of the of guests that we have on board, how casual everybody is, your vessel for the week. So, and we are out to explore all the great wilderness and wildlife. Let's just take a look at some of these images. On the lower left here, you see some folks with some yoga mats doing some stretch. Oftentimes, we have a sunrise stretch that is led by one of our expedition leaders. We have yoga mats on board because sometimes we exercise some muscles, maybe that haven't seen any exercise in a while. So it's nice to get those stretched out and ready for the day's activity. Our vessels that have hot tubs on board, they're all designed on the exterior. So maybe after a day of kayaking or nature walks, or even trying your hand at paddleboarding up in Alaska, just get a maybe local Alaskan amber or a cup of coffee and go right up on that deck and do some great soaking in the hot tubs. We do have open bridge policy. We invite all of our guests to come out and up and hang out with our captain and crew and hopefully help us spot some wildlife because it's what of the game. We all want to check that out and find that wildlife. And if the seafood wouldn't drive you up to Alaska, if the wildlife doesn't drive you up to Alaska, well, hope meals would, right? Because it is all about local flair, all farm to table. All of our fruits and vegetables, seafood are all locally sourced. All of our meals are a healthful dining experience with our executive chefs that use ingredients that reflect flavors from the destinations. So the mornings might be a early riser. We'll always have that right around 6:30 in the morning with baked on pastries and breads. And then shortly after that, we'll have a breakfast complement of specialty items that are plated on board. Lunches, after everybody comes back from a morning of activity and all good and hungry, may range from a pasta salad to a sandwich to one of our award-winning soups on board. And dinners, well, they offer a choice of entrees, include fresh seafood and meats, and we have vegetarian dishes that are available, or any specialty dietary can be met with advance notice. So be sure to let the folks at Dimensions in Travel know if you have any dietary needs that right on board. The chef will come up and chat with you about what we're having that day. So it's really hands-on on a smaller vessel. And if you think you're going to lose any weight while you're aboard because of all the great exercise you're doing, well, think again, because we've got a great pastry chef does a terrific job creating all sorts of good things. Again, with any dietary needs, if you're gluten-free, if you're sugar-free, any of those we can handle right on board. So let's talk about the next slide here. I keep talking about inclusive this and inclusive that. Let's run through this very quickly, just in for those of you who might have some questions on what is included in small boat cruising. So all activities, short versions, and presentations are included. We spend a tremendous amount of time in national parks, preserves, and monuments. So all of those fees are all taken care of. The narration and expertise by our expedition leaders, the meet and greet when you arrive day of vacation and day of disembarkation are included. Any of our meals on or off the vessel, they're all included, and we do some really special surprises. And I'll give an example of what might be off the vessel. We may do a day hike where we do a hike and a kayak, which we call a yak and whack, believe it or not. And so we may pack in a lunch. We're on the Colombian Snake River. We do some great wine tastings and some great pairings. Or in Hawaii, we do a beautiful walk to the edge of the Halava Valley to a waterfall. So we'll pack in lunch there as well. So some really neat surprises and delights when it comes to the meals on cruise adventures. All of our beverages are included, both alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages. And then, of course, we have the great fitness or wellness amenities on board with our hot tubs, our fitness equipment, and our yoga mats. So what's not included? Much shorter list, but any of our port taxes and surcharges, any gratuities you would like to extend vessel crew. And then remember, you would have to fly into destination. So in that airfare is not included either. And we have our primary demographic on cruise adventures is age 55 to 75. But secondary to that, really close to that, is our solo and our family cruises. Our solo travel is really popular because we do have single cabins on board. So for those of you in the audience that love to travel solo, we have some great cabins on board for you. And for those who want to take their family, you've created your bubble, your friends and family bubble all year long, and now to get out and do something, and a small group experience like on cruise might be just your ticket. Well, everybody is learning on board, and that's why family is so popular with us, that you can just get out and explore. And for those of you, again, who have been traveling in your bubble and would like to have a group, well, of course, Dimensions in Travel have worked with us very closely on any groups, and our 22 passenger vessel you could even charter, which is often with families. Now, I know after our presentation, Diana and Jill are going to create a wonderful little package for you and send it off. And one is our digital brochure, and it looks just like this. And it's just like a digital brochure. You can flip from page to page. Cool part about this brochure is that you can go cyber cruising. We've got embedded videos under every destination. So if this presentation tonight sparks a little bit of interest or a great deal of interest, go in there and check out some of our videos, because they're really take you even closer into these destinations that I was able to tonight with images. A little bit of continent out to the industry in all levels, from hotels to cruise lines to tour operators. And we're very excited and happy to say that in 2020 last year, we were awarded one of the top 10 small ocean cruising through Condé Nast Traveler. So we're excited about that. And even so, even brighter than that is this image to the right. This is a classic shot. This just puts a smile on my face every time I see it. Everybody is wearing their Alaska tennis shoe. That's the rubber boot. And we want everybody to come up with their rubber boots because we do all sorts of great fishing into the tidal pools and in some of the shallow rivers. So it is really a fun way to experience Alaska. We have all our protocol, up-to-date protocol on our website. I know Dimensions in Travel always with all their preferred suppliers on what we're doing for 2021. We love to say we've been social distancing since 1996, the beginning of our company, because we do things so differently. We're out in the wild. We're not port-centric. We're really getting in that back country. So all of those, it goes on for a couple pages, all the protocols, but just to mention a few of them, and these apply to both crew and guest. We'll have a high frequency of purification, of course, getting out into fresh air in those open decks. We, on some of our vessels in the past, we had buffets, but there will no longer be buffets. Everything's plated. And the very simple big three for uncruise adventures, can't emphasize this enough, is washing hands, wearing masks, and physically distancing from everyone. So we have got a entire team that heads up the protocol with Uncruise Adventure. So any more details, please just ask the folks at Dimensions in Travel, or can go on our site, check those out if you're curious. Now we do have adventure savings. So if you're curious about Uncruise Adventures and you might think about joining us in 2021, we have a $600 per cabin for any new reservations that depart in May and in June. And those all other destinations and all other sailings in Alaska for July, August, September, you can receive a $300 cabin. Now these will be valid all the way through May 15th, but because our vessels are small and people love to choose their cabin, there would be a great reason to contact the group at Dimensions to see if there is any space left on some of our itineraries. And with that, I'm going to the last slide here. These guys, it's no different and unique companies. Dimensions in Travel is top doing that. They've been tremendous partners with us. They not only just suggest companies, they really pair a guest to the right product. We're just so proud to be a part of that. So I want to thank both of them. And I'm going to actually start my video again. Hello, Louise.
Hello, Julie again. Thank you so much, Julie. That was incredible. And what it reminded me of is if someone can't make it to Antarctica in the next year or two, the kind of experience that you would have on a cruise like this, I think, is very similar to an Antarctica experience in terms of ice and wildlife and that intimacy. So great option. I forgot to mention earlier that we have 2 uncruise cookbooks that we are giving away. And while you all were listening, I went through and picked out everyone who has shown up live, and I have your names in a cup here, and I'm going to do a drawing now. Only people who are live get a chance to participate, but I'm going to go ahead and do a drawing now, and I will be mailing these out to you. The first one is Chip Howard. Chip, I'm going to be mailing you a cookbook, and Deborah Willard. All right. And this also reminds me that I loved it that you brought up the sounds of the cracking glaciers, the deliciousness of the food, and that one of our specialties at Dimensions in Travel is we do serve blind travelers, and we have more than 300 blind clients through our relationship with Guide Dogs for the Blind, and that this cruise can be a very multi-sensory experience. Wonderful. All right, cookbooks. Now on to the questions, Jill. What have we got?
Great. Thanks, everybody. Yes, we do have some questions. A couple of things I think got answered in the presentation, but Julie, of course, everybody wants to know the best season, best time of year for Alaska. And then I think combined with that, if you could talk to us a little bit about what's the best time to see the whales.
Oh, two great questions. And we sail in the prime part of whale season. The whales will migrate and we start to see them as early as April, but they really start coming in May. And the beautiful part about those early seasons, whales in warm waters in the winter months, they're not eating. They are mating and giving birth. So when they get up to these beautiful Alaskan waters, they're hungry. And that's all the great activity we get to see, spy hopping and breaching and bubble net feeding. So May is a beautiful time to get up to Alaskan waters, but they'll migrate, feed in waters all the way to September. They'll start making their way back down to the warm waters for the winter, mate and give birth. So every month is going to offer something unique and different. It's all dependent on Mother Nature. The great part, and I know I'm probably over answering the question, but one thing about 2021 is these waters have not heard of any engine noise from any vessel for almost 2 years now. So 21 is going to be epic. We heard from the national parks, especially up in Glacier Bay, they've seen behavior from the bear life that they've never seen before, the abundance of whales that are coming out into areas that they've never migrated before. So it's a pretty special epic year. And even in 21, we're going to be one of the only cruise lines that get up into Alaska. So it's a year not to be missed.
Exactly. Now, early on in the presentation, when you were showing some of the various activities, and I know our focus today has been on Alaska, but we showed some people snorkeling. So one of the questions that we had is, what are the destinations where people can snorkel? And in those destinations, do they need to bring their own wetsuits, or do you have that kind of gear available?
We have it available. Go back where we snorkel. Believe it or not, we have snorkeling in Alaska. I know people don't think of that when they think of snorkeling, but we have wetsuits on board for everyone, their mask, and their snorkel gear. They are issued, and I should go back to the other destination, all of our warm water destination. That would be all of Latin America, Mexico, Sea of Cortez, and Hawaii all have snorkel gear on board. It's issued at the beginning of the trip, and then they keep it throughout the entire voyage. We have some lockers on the aft of our vessels. They keep all their gear there. But I love talking about in Alaska. It's pretty awesome.
Great. Another question that we had to do with, I guess, getting an idea of when families are traveling, but also I think if you could combine that with, so if folks maybe are looking for an experience with just adult travelers, but what also is the minimum age for children?
We invite children age 8 to all the way up to 80, and kids 8 to 17 will receive a $500 discount on their cruise. Now, if you are interested in bringing perhaps your family and you want to know real time if there are any other families on board, when you call Dimensions in Travel, they'll talk to our staff and we could let them know real time if we have families on board. If you're interested in using without kids on board, then they can do the same. Our 22 passenger vessel, we don't have kids on board. That's our 22 passenger yacht, our Safari Quest. So if you really want to make sure there's no kids on board, that would be the perfect vessel for you.
Great, thank you. I think that covers it for all the questions today. Thank you so much, Julie. That was just fun, entertaining, and so much great information that you shared. And my goodness, the idea of standing on the vessel and getting those incredible pictures of the wildlife and the glaciers, just unbelievable. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you all for joining us tonight. And thank you, ladies, for hosting such a fun event. I really appreciate it.
And for everyone, this is part of our series of places you can go now. And so we have this one on This Is a Way. We wanted to share with you how you could go to Alaska now. And next week, we will be doing the same thing with how you can go to Mexico now. So if you've got an interest in getting away, please reach out to us. We'd be happy to help you get away somewhere now. All right. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.